Hi, I'm Calvin, and this is my talk on code complexity. I'm passionate about this because I often find myself trying to future-proof my code and spend too much time on a simple improvement. To start, I'm going to address the growing problem of perfectionism. Perfectionism is common with programmers. We can spend a lot of time attempting to get perfect code, even though it is not attainable. Most senior developers will tell you that perfect code is a myth, and it's not possible to achieve. Imposter syndrome is very popular with programmers, and this can be a cycle that is very deadly. We often feel, we can often feel that we are not good enough, so we set really high goals and stay up late to achieve those goals, which we inevitably don't hit because they're so high, and so we feel we are not good enough again. Some signs of perfectionism include spending multiple hours deciding which IDE to get. Um, I can't say that I'm not guilty of this at one point. Another sign is spending 2+ hours setting up an operating system, which you only use to play Minecraft and watch Fireship videos. Now, not all perfectionism is bad. Steve Jobs is a very popular example of a perfectionist that was very successful. However, most people regard perfectionism as having more cons than pros. This is a study on perfectionism and bike trials. This was done by the University of Birmingham, and it helps demonstrate why perfectionism is bad. The participants were given two timed bike trials to complete. In the first bike trial, each person was specifically given a time goal that they would all fail, that was just out of their reach. As we can see from this, in the first trial, the perfectionists had a lot of effort going into it, but once they hit this failure, they started to give up and burn out really dramatically, really quickly. Just one more trial in. But the low self-oriented perfectionists, they actually improved in their effort. They realized they failed, and they because they were not perfectionists. They tried harder, and there was an improvement in their next trial. How to address perfectionism? How to help with this? Some things you can do is you can set smaller goals, accept yourself where you're at, and learn from your failures. See your failures as not how horrible you are, but realize that you can learn from them. Back to code complexity. If we're not careful, we can find ourselves attempting to build the perfect code with the perfect file structure. I have done this before, and because of this, our projects take much longer, and due dates come and go. We we extend the due date, and we don't hit the due dates. As a reminder, our code does not need to be perfect. All of Undertale, as successful as Undertale was, all of the game's dialogue was in a single switch case statement in a single file. Um, so where is this line of how much effort we put into a project? We can look into finding the point of diminishing returns. This isn't always obvious though, and there's some things we can do to help us out. Um, Understanding the requirements to avoid non-essentials, focusing on iterative improvements for bigger projects, and get feedback on projects from peers, follow good practices, and understand how catastrophic a failure would be. This can all help us determine how much inputs to put into a project. For example, for this last one, your uncle's startup, that's just a website, does not need the same amount of scrutiny as code written for a nuclear reactor or for a Boeing 747. In most cases, I feel that as we develop in the field, we start to learn that any code we write can break, so it is a liability, and the best solution often involves the least amount of code. And a wise man once said that the most stable code you will write, it will be the one that simply outputs hello world. That is my talk.